In a cheerful village bathed in sunlight, where birds chirped happily and tall trees swayed in the breeze, there lived a young girl named Bukum. She was a unique child, known for her wide smile and bright, twinkling eyes. Bukum was the only daughter of the wealthiest couple in the village. Everyone recognized her and would say, "There's Bukum, the treasure of our community." Her parents adored her deeply. They lived in a grand house, the largest anyone could see, filled with many rooms that echoed with joy and affection. Surrounding their home were farms bursting with fruits and vegetables, and wide fields that stretched far beneath the sun's rays. Her father ran the biggest shop in the market, a place where people traveled from distant areas to purchase goods. They sold dazzling jewels that sparkled like the night sky, and soft fabrics that felt as gentle as a breeze. Bukum's parents provided her with everything she could ever need, and her heart overflowed with happiness. Wherever she went, her mother and father were by her side. They took her to lively markets, shimmering rivers, and visits with friends in nearby villages. Everyone who met Bukum adored her because she was polite and caring, traits she learned from her loving parents. But within Bukum's wonderful home, there was a hidden mystery. One room stood apart, a place no one ever entered. Even Bukum stayed away from it. This secret space, known as the mystery room, gave her house an air of enchantment, like a palace concealing untold wonders. So, in her spacious, beautiful home, with her devoted parents, Bukum's life felt like a perfect dream. This is where our tale begins, with a girl surrounded by blessings and a mystery yet to unfold. One bright day, something heartbreaking occurred. Bukum's mother and father set out on a journey across the wide blue river to visit friends in another village. They traveled in their canoe, painted with vibrant designs and bold colors. Bukum didn't join them because she felt unwell, so she stayed home to rest. That day, the river turned unpredictable. It surged and swirled faster and fiercer than anyone expected. Her parents tried to guide their canoe with care, but the water grew too powerful. Suddenly, with a loud crash, the canoe flipped over and sank. It was a terrible accident, and sadly, Bukum's mother and father didn't return. They passed beyond the horizon, leaving Bukum alone. When word reached the village, a heavy sorrow settled over everyone. Bukum was devastated. She longed for her parents, her tears falling like a gentle rain, her cheerful smile fading away. The villagers who cherished her family came to her house. They brought meals, offered warm embraces, and shared her grief. To honor her parents, the community made a special choice. They closed the market for several days. No one traded or shopped. Instead, they gathered to recall the happy moments they'd shared with Bukum's parents, how kind they were, how generous, and how they brightened the village. During those days, the lively village grew silent, quieter than ever before. The trees rustled softly, and even the birds sang with a tender tone. Everyone mourned, showing their love for Bukum's family and hoping to ease her pain after such a great loss. The village paused in stillness, supporting the little girl whose joy had turned to sorrow. She learned that even in the sunniest places, sadness can strike, yet her community stood by her, offering comfort through it all. In Bukum's grand house, where every room once rang with happiness, one space remained different. It was the locked room, a place so private that even Bukum, the cherished daughter, was never permitted to look inside. This room had a sturdy, wooden door with a solid lock that gleamed in the daylight. The key to it was hidden, and no one spoke of its location. Colorful fabrics hung around the door, adding to its air of importance and intrigue. This wasn't just any ordinary room, it was a place cloaked in quiet rumors and shadows. The older workers in the house, who had served there since Bukum was a baby, knew something about it. They understood it held a secret so significant It could unsettle even the bravest heart. Long ago, before Bukum was born, some curious workers wondered about that door. They tried listening at the keyhole or peering beneath it, but those who pried too much vanished without a trace. One day they were present, the next they were gone. No one knew where. After a time, people stopped mentioning them. The other, workers murmured warnings to each other. "Stay away from that room. Get too close, and you might disappear like a breeze that fades at dusk." So they cleaned around it, never touching the door, always hurrying past with lowered eyes. Bukum knew of the room, of course. Her parents had told her, "That's a special place, dear. We must never go inside. It's for the best." Trusting them completely, she never questioned why. She simply agreed, her pulse quickening whenever she walked by that mysterious door. The room remained sealed and quiet, guarding its secrets while life buzzed around it. A silent shadow amid a world of light, always present, always waiting. After losing her parents, Bukum needed help to maintain her large, lovely home. Tiasnisti. Morning, she decided to hire new assistants. That's when she met Simi and Abu, the only twins in the village. They were well liked for their kindness and dedication. People appreciated their warm smiles and friendly words. Simi shone like the morning sun, always eager to assist or share a chuckle. Her brother Abu was just as pleasant, but more reserved, observant, and quick to learn. They were inseparable, like two halves of a whole, caring for each other as well as they cared for everything else. Bukum liked them immediately. She noticed how neatly they worked and how courteously they spoke. "You two will be perfect for my house," she said with a hopeful grin, aiming to bring life back to her quiet home. The twins were glad to assist. They settled into the servants' quarters and began their tasks the next day. They swept floors, polished furniture, and kept everything in order. Simi loved singing as she worked, her voice so pleasant that even the birds paused to listen. Abu excelled at repairs, broken gates, and leaky roofs didn't stand a chance with him around. They followed all the house rules, especially the one about the locked room. They'd heard hushed warnings from the other workers. "That's the room no one enters." They nodded solemnly, respecting its significance. With the twins around, Bukum felt a bit lighter. Their cheerful presence brought fresh happiness to her home, and their loyalty shone through. They genuinely cared for her and the house. With Simi and Abu there, the shadows in the corners seemed less heavy and the silence less deep. Life in Bukum's home began to find a new rhythm, filled with the twins' laughter and chatter. Yet the mystery of the locked room lingered, its quiet puzzle waiting in the background. The second anniversary of Bukum's parents' passing approached, and the house buzzed with preparations for a remembrance ceremony. It was a major event for the village, and everyone wanted it to be flawless to honor their memory. Simi and Abu worked tirelessly, tidying every corner and ensuring the house gleamed. They moved from room to room, dusting, sweeping, and organizing, but one space remained untouched, the locked room. Simi, ever inquisitive, noticed its door stayed firmly shut, its lock untouched by fingerprints, despite their efforts elsewhere. One day while preparing, Simi whispered to Abu, "Have you ever thought about what's in that room? We've cleaned everywhere else, but never there." Abu glanced at the door, curiosity flickering in his eyes, tempered by caution. "Yes, but recall what we were told. It's off limits to everyone. We shouldn't dwell on it." Still, the question took root in Simi's mind. Later, she found a chance to ask Bukum. "Miss Bukum," she said softly, "there's one room we haven't cleaned. With so many guests coming, shouldn't we tidy it too?" Bukum, arranging flowers, paused and looked at the locked room. Her expression grew firm. "No, Simi, that room is fine. It doesn't need cleaning. Promise me you and Abu won't bother. With it, it must stay shut." Simi nodded, a bit let down but honoring Bukum's wishes. "Yes, Miss Bukum," she replied. Yet the room's mystery tugged at her. That evening, she and Abu spoke quietly. "Maybe it's packed with riches," Simi guessed, her mind racing. "Or perhaps it's a hidden spot for ancient tales," Abu added, enjoying a good riddle as much as she did. Despite their interest, they agreed to respect Bukum's rules. They avoided the room, focusing on their tasks and the upcoming event. But the spark of curiosity had ignited, and they both knew the question of what lay behind that door wouldn't fade easily. It was a puzzle wrapped in secrecy, calling to them faintly in the calm moments of their days. As the remembrance ceremony neared, the village hummed with energy. People arrived from nearby and far-off places, their voices and steps filling the air with excitement and respect. Bukum's home became the hub of activity, with guests admiring its charm and the careful preparations. Simi and Abu worked hard, ensuring every visitor felt welcomed and every corner sparkled. However, the influx of people and talk of honoring the past only made the locked room's mystery more tempting. It seemed to whisper to them amid the louder bustle of the house. One evening, after a busy day, Simi and Abu sat in the kitchen. The house was briefly still, and they shared their thoughts. "Everyone's talking about memories and hidden things," Simi said, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. "And we've got a room full of secrets right here that we know nothing about." Abu nodded, his interest stirred by the day's conversations. "It's odd, isn't it? A part of the house we can't even glimpse. What could be so vital or risky that it's locked away?" They exchanged a look, a silent pact forming. They knew they'd been told to stay out, but the allure was too strong. "We have to find out what's inside," Simi said. "But we must be careful," Abu cautioned. "We can't just barge in. We need a plan to avoid trouble like those who vanished." Simi agreed, and they devised a simple strategy. One would enter while the other stood guard outside. The one inside would take a quick look and report back. This way, they hoped to quench their curiosity without both risking danger. "We'll do it early in the morning," Simi suggested, "when everyone's still asleep and busy with their own work." Abu nodded. "And we'll be fast. If anything seems off, we leave immediately. No staying too long." With their plan set, the twins felt a mix of thrill and nerves. They knew they were breaking a rule, but the pull of the unknown was irresistible. That night they went to bed with their secret tucked away, dreaming of what might await behind the mysterious door. The next morning dawned quietly, the sky still dim. Simi and Abu rose early, excitement and fear mingling in their chests. They crept from their beds, careful not to wake the other workers or guests. They tiptoed to the locked room. As they neared, the air felt cooler and the hallway seemed to stretch endlessly. The door loomed large and aged, cold to Simi's touch. Abu kept watch as Simi took a deep breath and turned the handle. To their surprise, the lock clicked open easily as if it had been expecting them. She nudged the door with her foot and stepped inside, her heart pounding. The moment Simi entered, the hallway's light vanished, swallowed by thick darkness. She blinked, trying to see, but it was useless. "Abu, it's pitch black. I can't see a thing," she called, her voice edged with worry. Outside, Abu strained to hear her, but as he focused, his own world dulled. Sounds faded like sinking underwater. Suddenly he heard nothing, not Simi, not the morning birds, nothing. Alarmed for his sister, he stepped inside, hoping to guide her out. His vision stayed, but silence consumed him. He couldn't hear or speak. The room was plain, holding only an old chest in the center, but his steps made no sound. Simi, blind in her dark world, heard movement but couldn't see. "Abu, can you see me?" she shouted, her voice bouncing oddly in the void. Abu, unable to hear, moved closer, arms outstretched. He saw Simi's faint shape reaching blindly, but his calls were mute. Frantic, he grabbed her arm. They stood together, one trapped in silence, the other in darkness, caught in the room's strange grip. Panic surged as they realized they couldn't fully connect or escape its effects. Abu led Simi to the door, hoping exiting would free them. But as they crossed back, the door slammed shut with a heavy thud, locking them inside. Simi's blindness and Abu's deafness persisted, isolating them in their separate struggles. The locked room had trapped them, its secret far darker and stronger than they'd imagined. Simi, still able to speak, yelled loudly. Abu, who could see, pounded the door, hoping for rescue. But their efforts stayed trapped within the room, unheard and unseen outside. It was a separate realm. As the ceremony day began, the village buzzed with life. Bukum, busy with final touches, didn't notice the twins' absence at first. But as hours passed with no sign of them, worry crept in. They were always reliable, especially on such a day. We haven't seen Simi or Abu this morning, a worker whispered, concern etching his face. Bukum's stomach dropped. They'd never skipped work, let alone today. She quickly organized the search. Check everywhere, she ordered, her voice tight. Gardens, storerooms, every corner, find them. The workers spread out, calling the twins' names through hallways and across the grounds. No answer came. They searched the kitchen, garden, and market path. Nothing. As the sun rose higher, worry turned to fear. Bukum felt a chill. Where could they be? She murmured, mind racing with grim possibilities. By the time guests arrived, the house was in chaos. Bukum instructed her workers to keep the twins' absence quiet, even from the village leaders or their parents. She wanted to handle it privately. As evening fell with no trace of Simi and Abu, her concern deepened to dread. They wouldn't leave without a word. Something was terribly wrong. I've looked everywhere, Miss Bukum, the head worker reported, his face tense. They're not in the house or on the grounds. Her thoughts darted to the locked room. Had they? She pushed the idea away, too scared to consider it. Could they have gone to the village? A young worker suggested, offering a simple explanation. Bukum shook her head, a shiver running through her. They'd have told me, she said softly, her eyes drifting to the forbidden door. The queue? Search stretched into the night, lanterns glowing as workers and some guests scoured every spot. As darkness deepened, hope faded. Bukum stood by her window, watching the searchers' shadows, a cold fear gripping her. She knew her home held secrets, and she feared the twins had uncovered one they shouldn't have. That night, the house felt heavier, as if it too mourned the missing twins. Days passed since Simi and Abu vanished, and the mood in Bukum's house shifted from concern to a tense, uneasy hush. Each morning brought no news. Each night fell heavier. The vibrant energy that once filled the home seemed gone with them. Then something odd and troubling began. It started faintly, a slight, unpleasant odor drifting through the halls. First, Bukum thought it was spoiled food or a waste issue. But as time passed, the smell grew stronger, sharper, and clearly the scent of rot. Her heart sank as it spread through every room, too potent to ignore. The workers whispered nervously, their faces tight with unease. What's that horrible smell? They muttered, covering their noses as they worked. The house, once warm and joyful, now felt like a dim, ominous place, weighed down by the stench. Bukum roamed her home, pale and anxious, her mind spinning. The odor seemed to leak from the walls, casting a sense of dread everywhere. By the third day's evening, it was unbearable. The workers moved silently, eyes wide with fear. They knew what such a smell might mean, but dared not say it. That night, Bukum lay awake, the odor seeping into her room, twisting her stomach. Sleep wouldn't come. Her thoughts swirled with dark images, the locked room flashing in her mind. Could it be connected? Her pulse raced. The next morning, unable to endure it longer, Bukum summoned her most trusted worker. "This can't continue," she said firmly, hiding her fear. "We must find where this smell is coming from. It's intolerable." As the day wore on, the air grew thick with tension, the foul scent cloaking the house. The workers' faces showed dread, each wondering if they'd be next to disappear into the house's mysteries. Sunset brought no answers, the home shrouded in fear of the unknown. Whispers of curses and restless spirits filled the halls, tales of anger from beyond. Bukum felt her family's hidden past pressing on her, a burden she couldn't carry alone. Ati, Dawn, the head worker, overwhelmed by the smell and fearing for everyone's safety, made a bold choice. He slipped out quietly and walked through the sleeping village to consult the elders. This wasn't a light decision. Bringing them in meant exposing Bukum's private matters to all, something she'd avoided. The elders met in the village hut, a place for serious talks. The worker, worry lining his face, explained the twins' disappearance, the awful smell, and the fear gripping Bukum's home. The elders listened closely, their faces serious. They knew the house's history, its whispered secrets, and the tragedies tied to Bukum's family. After a quiet discussion, they agreed to act. The village's safety might be at risk. Led by the head elder, they went to Bukum's house. She was startled by their arrival, but saw the gravity of their intent. The head elder spoke gently, yet firmly. "Bukum, you're dear to our village. Your well-being and your homes trouble us all. We must search thoroughly to find the cause." Feeling the weight of her family's secrets, she nodded silently. With the elders, the workers searched again, now with purpose. They checked each room carefully until only the locked room remained. Bukum hesitated at its door, heart pounding. The head elder noticed and asked softly, "What's behind this door, Bukum?" Her voice trembled. "It's a place of old family secrets. I don't even know. My parents banned everyone from entering." With a nod of understanding but firm resolve, the elder approached the door. Bukum cried out, "No, please don't open it. It's a secret I don't understand." Her plea hung in the air, but it was too late. The elder turned the handle, the lock clicking open as if ready. The door swung wide, and a wave of the awful stench hit them. Inside the plain room, the grim truth lay bare. Simi and Abu's bodies rested lifeless on the floor, their faces calm yet pale. Sorrow swept through the group, gasps and murmurs rising. The elders turned to Bukum, their expressions mixing grief and concern. Something dark had taken two innocent lives within these walls. Tears streamed down Bukum's face as her worst fears came true. The discovery shook the village. Grief quickly turned to anger as rumors spread. By morning, suspicion clouded over Bukum alone. In the village square, voices grew loud. "How could this happen in her house?" one asked. "She must have known," another claimed. Some believed she'd used the twins in a shadowy ritual to restore her family's wealth, tied to old tales of her lineage. Despite her denials, the community's fear and anger stood firm. Bukum faced her once friendly neighbors in the square, now staring with judgment. Pressed by the crowd, the elders made a grave call. "We must prevent this again," the head elder said. Bukum, you're accused of hiding dark secrets that killed 2 of our own. What do you say?" Overwhelmed, Bukum struggled to speak. "I knew nothing of any evil there," she cried, voice shaking. "I followed my parents' orders to keep it shut. I'm innocent." Her words couldn't pierce the crowd's pain and need to blame. Blinded by loss, they decided, for our safety, this shadow can't remain. As dusk fell, they tied Bukum to a post at the village edge. Despite her pleas, flint struck steel. Tears fell as sparks caught the wood at her feet. The fire rose, and her despair turned to rage. "I curse this village," she shouted. "As you wrongly judged me, may you face false blame and feel this helpless anger." Silence fell as flames consumed her. Many watched in horror and regret. The sky darkened, a cold wind blowing as if mourning the injustice. That night, the village didn't rejoice. It grieved a deeper loss. Bukum's curse, whether real or born of bitterness, lingered in their hearts as they left, each carrying a piece of the tragedy home. Her final cries and the fire's heat would echo for years. Time passed, and Bukum's tale became a hushed story. The spot where she died stayed untouched, a scorched patch no one approached. The village looked the same, but felt heavier. Guilt lingered, her last words haunting them. Then her curse seemed to stir. A distant village accused them of stealing a priceless crown. Though they denied it with no proof against them, the claim stuck. Outsiders shunned them. Friends grew distant. The village leaders faced a stern chief's questions, just as they'd once questioned Bukum. They fought to prove their innocence, but trust faltered, echoing Bukum's unheard pleas. The chief banned outsiders for 10 years, forcing the village to fend for itself, growing food, making clothes, isolated like an open prison. In this hardship, they saw their past unfairness. Fear had driven them to a terrible mistake. Older villagers, now gray-haired, reflected. "We can't let fear rule us," they'd say. "Bukum's story teaches us to seek truth carefully and judge fairly." Years later, the true thieves were caught, clearing the village. Relief came, but reflection deepened. They rebuilt trust cautiously, placing a stone for Bukum in the square, adorned with flowers. It read, "In memory of Bukum, whose story urges us to value truth and avoid haste. Here's the lesson. For parents, your choices matter. Secrets can burden your children with unknowns as they did Bukum. For workers, heed rules. Simi and Abu ignored a boundary and paid dearly. For communities, don't let fear or anger decide. Hasty blame hurt Bukum and the village. Take time to understand before acting, ensuring fairness and avoiding regret." I hope you liked this tale. If so, please like, share it with loved ones, comment, and subscribe with notifications for more stories like this. Farewell.